Hi everybody, welcome to part 2 of episode 7 of the Basic Stitch Knitting podcast. I'm Celine, coming to you from Hong Kong. I can be found on Ravelry as Ochya, O-C-H-Y-A, and on Instagram as basic.stitch.knitting, and we have a Ravelry group on Ravelry as well. So first of all, you will notice that there will be a couple of outfit changes in this part of the episode, and that's because this episode, part 2 of episode 7, is recorded in 3 different occasions. So just a heads up so that you don't feel weirded out or confused about all these outfit changes, like, Celine, what are you doing? And second, there's a gadget update in this episode, and that is this microphone. So I finally bought a microphone, a legit microphone. I've tried this microphone in my last episode, well, basically first part, like part 1 of episode 7, and I liked it. So yeah, this will stay with me for a long time, I believe, if I don't drop it. I just feel like that's something that will just happen to me. Anyway, so I basically just asked Dan from the Bakery Bears podcast for his recommendation when it comes to microphone, because he's just very professional when it comes to these things, and when you watch an episode of Bakery Bears podcast, you know what I mean. There's all sort of things, and I just don't know how busy he is, and fortunately, production is what Dan really likes to do, or else it will definitely burn a person out. It's just a lot of work if you want to do a lot of different things and keep it interesting with effects, with, indoor, outdoor recording. It's just a lot of work. In this part of episode 7, firstly, I will talk about my whips, where I will wear what I wore yesterday because it was a clip I recorded yesterday. And then the second part would be some, unboxing yarn haul video, which was recorded the day after, or the same day after I came back from England. So now let's talk about knitting objects, which I can just go and take a rest and have a cup of tea because I did it yesterday. Yay! I'll see you again after the unboxing video. So, I've been away from the podcast for a long time, and I bet you're thinking, Celine, you must have a lot of finished objects to show us. But no, I did not have a single finished objects. I was literally taking a vacation. I didn't knit almost at all when I was in England. Yes, I did. I was knitting a pair of socks, but I didn't knit all the time, even when I was in the car when my boyfriend was driving, because I really wanted to show that I was 100% present with him, and also not just show, but I just wanted to be 100% present. So I didn't really knit a whole lot. I can show you what I was knitting. I cast on the pair of socks when I was waiting for the plane in Hong Kong airport, and this is it. I'm knitting it 2 at a time as well, and this is a pair of socks for myself, so they are definitely smaller than the socks that you've seen on this podcast that I knit for my brother and for the boyfriend. I'm knitting 2 at a time, toe up vanilla socks, and this time I'm planning to do Afterthoughts Heel. I was thinking about doing it, but not exactly. But then Knitting I Love, Barbara from Knitting I Love, tagged me on a post that she posted on Instagram. I thought that was pretty random. She just tagged me and said, you should do this because it's so fun and even better than Fish Lips Kiss Heel. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do Afterthoughts Heel. And I didn't actually bring my stitch marker, which is given by my friend on Instagram. She sent it to me, that I mentioned in the last episode, and I didn't bring any stitch marker to England, and I couldn't see any in England as well, and I don't have waste yarn, because when I was casting on, when I was bringing my sock yarn to England, I wasn't thinking about anything. I wasn't
doing any planning, like, oh, what heel I'm going to do. So I kind of have to stop when I reached here and come back to Hong Kong and add the stitch markers to show where I need to put in the heel later on. And I really like this color, but okay, I originally planned to knit this for my dad because my brother now has a pair of, you know, fingering weight socks, and my boyfriend has a pair, and I feel like my dad should have one pair as well, at least, of course. But when I was winding this up, winding the yarn ball into a yarn cake, do you call it yarn cake? I just adore the color, especially this bit. Let me show you, and I hope it focuses well, because apparently my camera now focuses, not because it suddenly changes, but because I've suddenly find out how to, you know, have it to do the autofocus thing. I hope it shows well. Can you see it? Like this bit, with a little bit of really pale blue and some speckles of red and oranges. And when I saw it, I was like, this is the color of Stitch. You know, like the Stitch in Disneyland. I'm not a fan. I have not watched it, but I think it's a good color. It's a happy color. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my god, this is so pretty. I'm sorry, Dad, I need to have it. So I knit it for myself. However, as much as I love this shade, do you call it turquoise? I don't know. Is it turquoise? I don't know. Like, as much as I love this shade of blue, greenish blue, bluish green, it's too much, don't you think? It's too much here and here. And I can't wait to get to like another color. I like the contrast. I like, you know, the blue with orange. But I think there is just too much blue in the sock. And also these stripes of white just look a little bit random to me, you know. It's not more than one row. They just look so random, as if they... I don't know what they're doing there. I mean, I'm fine because they're just socks to me, and I only knit vanilla socks, and I don't mind it being funky and weird, but I was just thinking it's just a little bit different from the other Drops Fabel yarn I knit with before. And I was thinking maybe it just looked like it has a lot of, you know, many rows of blue because I'm knitting it for myself. I'm knitting 52 stitches a row, 2.5mm needle. And when I knit for my brother, I knit 72 stitches, so it's like 20 stitches more. And for the boyfriend, I think 76 stitches. Although I feel like I could definitely do 72 stitches and it will still fit really well for the boyfriend. Anyway, so like what I mentioned just now, this yarn, wait, this is what you do when you're using like a, you know, a project bag with zipper. How do I get the yarn out? Alright. So it's a mess here, but these are like two balls of yarn. I don't know why they look so different in their size, but they, trust me, they are both like 50 grams of yarn balls to start with. They are Drops Fabel, and the colorway is definitely not with me, but I will write it down below in this video and also in the down bar. So if you're interested, you can go check it out. And I knit this for my stash. I bought it before. So, oh, and I did something really silly. So the reason why you would want to wind a skein of yarn into a cake, you know, yarn cake, is because you want to make a center pulled yarn ball like this. You pull the yarn from center, right? And I wound out 2 skein of yarns, and stupid me, I ended up using the yarn from the outside, so the ball keeps rolling, and I don't even know why I did this. Like, you know, the center pull side, like, is here. Well, things like that happens and it's not really a big thing. It's fine. It's just, I was just laughing at myself. Like, I realized what I was doing it when I was in the airport. I was like, Celine, what are you doing? I just laughed. So that was work in progress number 1. Like what I said, I don't have a finished object. And work in progress number 2 is here in this bag that is given by my friend, the same friend I was talking about. And inside, it is a washcloth. I don't think I've ever knit washcloth before because, I mean, I've knit some little like small swatches when I first learned to knit something that is more than just knit, like garter stitch. But I don't think those are washcloth and they're pretty small. I wasn't really thinking about anything when I was knitting them. And this is like a real washcloth. And the thing is, like, you know, I know people think knitting washcloth is a good project for a beginner. But I think it ignores a beginner mentality, and that is everything you knit is super precious. You will not want to spend a lot of time doing very fine things, which is called knitting, to just use the fabric to wash dishes afterwards. It just baffles me, like, how does it work? Why would anybody knit something to wash the dish? It's because, you know, for beginner, your knitting objects is super, super precious. And my knitting object is still very precious, so that's why this is a washcloth and not dishcloth. So this is supposed to be used for, I think, in the shower, I believe. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it or if I'm going to give it to my friend, because I feel like it's a really good, you know, gift when you just fold them up and put a ribbon over it. I saw a lot of pictures like that online. It's so pretty. So the pattern for this is called Spade Cloth, and the designer is Anne Manson. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if it's not correct. And it looks like a waffle stitch here. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if waffle stitch is a stitch, but it looks like waffle, and it gives like the texture to, you know, to wash your skin, I think. And it's very simple. It's a 4 rows repeat, and it looks beautiful. And it starts with 3 stitches of seat stitch here and 3 stitches of seat stitch, you know, at the end of the row. It's a very easy and mind-soothing project. And if you have cotton wool and cotton yarn and you don't know what to do about it, I would recommend doing it. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, so yeah, just grab it. The yarn is Stylecraft Classique cotton, and the color is poppy. I have never really knit with cotton before, like maybe just once, so I don't really know how it compares to other cotton. But this cotton, it feels like a very a sturdy column, very high twist, very, very, very high twist. So very rigid and have very, very clear stitch definition. That's what you're looking for when you want clear stitch definition, not just in cotton, but also in wool. The higher the twist, the better the stitch definition. And this one, it's not splitty at all. And that is my second half-finished object, and it is a washcloth using a cotton yarn. And my third half-finished object is this. So this is supposed to be a mitt, and it has this like a waste yarn here so that I can cut it open to make the thumb hole. This is kind of done. I don't okay, I'm going to talk about the pattern first. This is a modified pattern from a free mittens pattern on Ravelry, and it's called Quo Vadis Mitts by Spilly Jane. It's a free pattern, and it's supposed to be a pair of mittens. But I didn't want to knit a pair of mittens because it's not the most functional, or you just don't get to wear them in Hong Kong. I did a little bit of modification, or actually a lot of modification. So I use the same cast on stitches, like number of stitches as suggested by this pattern, but I'm using a bigger size needles. I think it's suggesting 3.75 millimeter or size necessary to obtain gauge. I didn't do a gauge swatch, but I know I always have a tighter gauge for color work like stranded knitting. Also, when I read the notes of other projects, quite a lot of people upsize the needle, like the size of a needle to cater for bigger hands. I don't think I have a much bigger hand than average people, and I don't think my friend who's the intended recipient of the mitts have big hands either, but it's just from my experience that, you know, I just need to upsize my needles when I do stranded knitting. So that's what I did. I use a 4 millimeter needles. Is that the case? Where's the other one? Yeah. And I'm using a needle that I really do not like, but I don't have a choice because all of my other 4 milliliters are occupied. And I feel like I really need more 2.5 and 4. 2.5 and 4 is probably the most used needles for me. And this is the... Oh no, I'm using 4.5. Okay, so I'm not using 4.5. And I think my other 4.5 is being used as well. So what I was saying still stand. I need more 4.5 and 4. And I'm knitting with Lettlopi yarn in 3 color. White, and this one spring green or whatever, and this is sun yellow, I believe. And if you have knit with Lettlopi before, you know it's kind of scratchy. And I'm knitting this for my friend because, you know, when you knit things for people who are not knitters, you usually want to use softer yarn because you know they probably don't understand or won't appreciate very sturdy, beautiful, scratchy yarn. But I talked to her before, this friend of mine who was my uni mate and also now my colleague, and she has been really nice to me at work. But she's leaving the firm soon, and I really want to do something for her that I kind of promised her that I would do. And that is, a few months ago, I was talking about Icelandic yarn to her. I said it's a very scratchy yarn, but it's waterproof, it's very hardy, and it's light, very, very, you know, lofty, lightweighted, but extremely warm. You're basically wearing air. You're using air to keep yourself warm. And she was like smitten, you know, about the description of the idea of the concept of Icelandic wool. I don't think she ever touched Icelandic wool. I don't think I brought it for her to touch. But she was like, oh, I wish I had something with Icelandic wool. And at the same time, for non-knitters, even for knitters, Icelandic wool feels very exotic because it's so far away. And yeah, so I wanted to really knit mitts for her because that's what I said. I could knit like small mitts for her to try, because if it's like a, first of all, it can't be anything like close to the neck, I don't think. No cowl, no, and sweater will be too much of a commitment, and hat, I don't know. I was just thinking about mitts. So that's what I did yesterday. I just did it under one day, and already, I'm not sure if you can see, I wouldn't call this like halo, but this is definitely like, you know, the hair. I think these are the guard hair that just poke out. They just don't stay inside the yarn itself, and it's just everywhere. When I showed it to my brother, he was like, wow. I was like, you know, this kind of yarn, they don't pill. You know, one of the advantage of it is they don't pill, but even when they don't pill, they look kind of crazy anyway. And he was like, wow. Can you see it? Can you really see it? I hope you can. Okay. So, yeah, this is the first time I ever knit with Lettlopi yarn. Lettlopi is what's a brand actually? Istex. Istex is a brand, and Lettlopi is the Aran weight of Istex yarn. Yeah. So I don't know how the color will come out because I didn't actually buy them together. I didn't buy them with, you know, having them in mind that they would work together, but turns out they work really well with each other, and my brother loved the color as well. And yeah, I think this much of the finger will poke out. And what else do I want to talk about it? Yes, I was talking to my boyfriend yesterday about this yarn, how it breaks easily, and this is the first time, well, not exactly the first time I knit with some single ply before, and they were quite fragile, but, you know, I was showing him how you easily break yarn like this, and how you can just felt them back together. And then when I was doing the demonstration, we agreed that I actually did it way better when I was Skyping with him than when I'm talking about knitting things in front of the camera, like doing the podcast. And I guess it's because the camera is a little bit far away from me and it feels like not as intimate. And also when I'm, say, Skyping with my computer, I can see what I'm doing there, so I definitely is doing it better. Anyway, so this is the yarn. This is Lettlopi. And this is what I mean, they break easily, like this. So this bit is broken, but don't you worry, because one thing I really like about working with, you know, rustic yarn or just wool is because you easily, you know, get them back together. And the way you do it is you kind of pile them up and put them on your palm and add some water. I happen to have some water here with me. Sorry for the noise. And add it to the wool and just rub them. By doing this, you are agitating the wool and causing the wool to felt together. I'm not sure if I have demonstrated this before in this podcast, but I've definitely talked about split splicing before, and I probably have also talked about how I don't spit. There are people who actually spit on their palm and do the split splicing. This is where the name comes from. But to me, spit doesn't really smell the best in the world, and especially when you're having it on your palm and just rubbing it and spreading it throughout your palm, it just doesn't please me, the idea of, you know, spitting. So yeah. So they are now together. It feels like magic, and you can like do things like this. And I heard it's actually better that you do it because I'm kind of like breaking the end of it as well. But I will not be crazy, like really hard with the tugging, because it does get thinner. It still stays together, but it gets thinner when I was doing the tugging. I'm loving this. Oh, again, I have not really talked about the pattern modification. It's actually like arrow lycra plant. Basically, one repeat follow immediately after another repeat. So the yellow bit is supposed to follow right after the, you know, it's kind of like connected. But I felt like it's a little bit difficult, hard on my eyes. So I do 2 white rows, like plain knit rows, to separate the repeats. The same thing here. After the second repeat, I did 2 plain knit rows in white yarn to make it easier on my eyes. So it's 3 repeat. I cast on using the old Norwegian cast on because it's stretchier, and then I did 7 rows of knit, like a ribbing, just knit and purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. The pattern suggested knit 1, purl 2, or knit 2, purl 1, I don't remember, but I wasn't doing it. So, and then repeat, 3 repeats, and I add the waste yarn after the second repeat. I add the waste yarn on the white row, and then after the 3rd repeat, 2 more rows of plain knitting, and then I believe like 3 to 4 rows of ribbing, and use surprisingly, I think it's Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. This is like the only bind off that I used recently, and I really feel like I should go down a size with the ribbing here, and I don't know, but I don't feel like ripping it back. I'll just I'll just go down the size when I'm knitting the ribbing for my next mitten, and I'll just tell my friend one will be stretchier or looser than the other, and I hope it's fine for you. So I don't know, it's definitely a mitt, like mitts for really cold weather. You don't wear it in Hong Kong, because when your hand is clammy and kind of wet, it's really hard to get through all these, like guard hair. It just feels unpleasant. So it's definitely a mitt for winter, so my colleagues can wear it when her next office is super cold, or, I said when, not if, because offices in Hong Kong are just really cold. Or when she travels, to cold places. And I just saw some vegetable matter here. So that is my third whips. And this is my fourth work in progress. And it's Cozy Saturday designed by Elena Nodal. And I'm done with the bodice. And the next thing I'll probably do is ribbing. I knit this using Cumbria by the Fibre company. And it's here in this form now. Very pretty form, because a lot of time when you're knitting it, it will just go out of shape. But I've just changed to like a new cake of yarn, so it still looks pristine. And I'm loving every moment with this project, and I'm loving the yarn. They just make each other so good. And did some waist shaping here. And from some point onward, I start to increase again for the, the bottom part. So, there isn't any second I don't like working on this. I love every bit of the pattern. I love the yarn. But recently I'm thinking about frigging it. I know. It's too tight on me. Do I have it with me? I think the pattern is in the project bag, of course. So the pattern actually have a schematic here, and then it says if my actual chest is like 32 inches, I should knit like a medium size. Like I told you last time, it has like 17 sizes. It has 17 sizes, and for a person with 32 inches chest, I should knit S1. There is like XS, S1, and S2, so it's not the smallest. And to be fair, 32 is still a little bit bigger than my actual size, but there isn't any like medium size between the last measurement to 32. So yeah, I chose to do a bigger one, and it says about 3 to 5 inches of positive ease are already incorporated into the pattern. And when you look at the pattern, when you look at the pictures of those people who are wearing it, it's actually quite, it's fitted, but a little bit loose, it's not very, very, very like body hugging kind of look. So I thought I could just do my actual size, and the extra 2 to 5 or 3 to 5 inches of positive ease will already be incorporated into the bodice of the sweater. But turns out when I wear it, of course I wear a pair of bras and also wear like maybe a tight shirt, tight t-shirt, because that's gonna be what I will wear under this. And I wear it, it just looks really small on me. It's a kind of small that I know some people will like, but my body figure is a type that I should not wear things that is really form-fitting unless I'm wearing like dress beneath because I have a very small upper body. I have a very small torso and a bigger lower part. And if I'm wearing like jeans, you know, like form-fitting jeans and a tight upper like t-shirt or whatever, I'll look pretty weird. Like I have narrow shoulders, small bust, and then like a very small torso and then like a bigger bottom. I just look really weird and it makes me feel very self-conscious in a very bad way. So, I don't know, and I don't really want another sweater that will only look good if I'm wearing skirt or dress. So, I'm not sure about this. And I was like, where is the extra positive ease the pattern guarantees? And I guess it's just that I need to block out a little bit because when I was doing my swatch, my gauge was actually too tight, but after blocking it, my gauge would be on point. So maybe I just need to block this out, like steam blocking it a little bit before I decide whether I should, you know, frock it or to actually continue to work on the ribbing. My only concern now is that this yarn is 100% wool. I mean, you know, like 90% with BFL and Masham wool, and then 10% of mohair. So it will definitely kind of felt. So I'm a bit worried if I steam block it or just block it, will the frogging be very difficult if I decided that the frogging is necessary. I don't know what I will do. Should I just frock it? Should I steam block it and then frock it? I mean, like check it first and see if it fits better, if it gets bigger. It's one of those very rare occasions where I wish this is super washed so that I can stretch it as big as I want it to be. And I really love it. It's a shame if I have to frock it, because if I frock it, I don't feel like I have the mental energy, mental power to do it again. I will probably just use the yarn for some other projects, which will be a shame because this yarn goes so well with this pattern. I don't know. And another thing that I noticed is that maybe raglan sweater doesn't really work for me, because a lot of time raglan sweaters are more form-fitting. Am I right? I don't know. Because like if you have like a deeper raglan, you might have a lot of space on the chest, which may not always look the most flattering for me, especially when the fabric is gathered around this like underarm area. But if it's like a smaller, like a not so deep raglan, it means it's very form-fitting, and I don't really want a form-fitting sweater. And I'm thinking maybe a very simple drop shoulder, boxy, cropped sweater is the one that will probably work for me the best. I don't know. I will still need to go on Ravelry and look at other raglan sweater and see if there are like very loose-fitting raglan that looks good. In any case, this is my second raglan sweater out of 2 sweaters that I've ever knit. And I think it's time for me to move on to other, you know, construction anyway. I really don't know what to do with this. I really enjoy doing it. And from the first half, or like from here to above, I think I was doing the cabling with cable needle, and here onwards I stopped using cabling needle, just cable without cabling needle, and I find that pretty, you know, it increases the speed. I think it speeds things up a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. And again, that pattern is Elena Nodell's Cozy Saturday. So if you're interested, it's definitely a very good pattern. Just make sure, you know, think about things like whether you want a form-fitting sweater, because it's, you know, to start with, it's a little bit form-fitting. And if you really don't like a form-fitting sweater, maybe you want to go one size up and not do the waist shaping. And I feel like I don't want to do waist shaping again in my life, because I just don't need it. I love straight things, you know, when I wear skirts, I love straight things. I just wanted to do waist shaping because it's so cool and it's like learning new things, which is totally fine. and it's a good experience for me because I just learned that I don't need waist shaping, because I guess waist shaping is probably for people who have a bigger, bust to waist ratio difference. I mean ratio? Yeah, bigger ratio. But for me, it's like quite, there isn't really a lot of difference. So I don't really need waist shaping, I think. So yeah, that is all my whips, and I don't have any other knitting projects for this episode.
Hi guys, so I have just come back from the airport from England. I'm now in Hong Kong. I have just had my vacation in England. I believe I would have said that in the introduction or any other part in this podcast. Just took a shower, and I hope I don't look too bad, like wet hair and everything. I just put on a little bit of lipsticks to make myself a little bit more presentable. But otherwise, it's like I wake up like this kind of look. And I just want to make a short video about these things. Really tired actually, coming home from long haul flight from Manchester to Helsinki and then Helsinki to Hong Kong. That was a long journey. Coming home feeling really tired, but always feel happy to see these babies. I'm now recording with my laptop, my MacBook, so it might look a little bit weird if I'm not looking at the camera. Like if you think I'm looking at something else, I'm looking at myself. But now I'm trying my best to look at the camera. I never really recorded on my MacBook before, but I'm just too lazy to get everything out. My camera is over there, just don't want to get it out. And my microphone is here in case, well, I will just talk about this in the podcast anyway. So, despite feeling very tired, I decided to make a short clip of unboxing these things, although they're not boxes. Because it makes me happy, unboxing makes me happy, and when you're tired, you just really want to come home to parcels of yarn. So, one thing I really like about online shopping, I actually enjoy online shopping more than going to yarn store and buy there. This is very controversial, but what I always feel about, okay, first of all, I don't really have much of an option to buy the kind of yarn that I want from the yarn store in Hong Kong. I know there's a yarn store in Hong Kong that carries a lot of yarn, like the fancier yarn, but it's very expensive. So online shopping is almost my only option. And sorry for the noise, because my microphone is just here, so it might actually pick up the noise from these bags easily, but I just want to hold on to something because I'm really tired. I want to hold on to something that makes me very happy. Where was I? Oh yeah, talking about online shopping. Other than the fact that online shopping is my only viable option, I also really like to do online shopping because, first of all, I feel the joy of just ordering them, and then I feel the joy of receiving the parcel, and usually the parcel arrives around 2 to 4 months later, and that allows a lot of time for me to kind of forget what I order. So it's another surprise when I unbox the parcel to open the parcel, and it's a longer period of happiness afterward because it's yarn. It's not just buying clothes or buying food, like food, you will eat them, you get happiness from it, but then it's kind of one-off. And clothes, I don't know, I don't really have anything that I feel very happy every time I wear it. But buying yarn is different because I'm going to knit on them for a long time, and that is a very long time of happiness. So that's like 3 stages of happiness: placing the order, receiving it, opening it, and then knitting on it. And now I'm on the second stage, which is really fun. So
I got my scissors. I don't know how well the microphone will actually pick up the sound, but yes. So the first one I like to open is, well, maybe I should do this first. No reason. This one is from norwegianwool.co.uk. I heard about norwegianwool.co.uk from Ellie from the Skinnier Knits, and she talked about it in one of her episodes because there was some sales, 50% off sales for some yarn that is carried by this company. I actually bought another batch before, and then I decided to buy another batch, which is silly because I should have bought everything in one go to save up the shipping cost. Yeah, but it's fine. I'm looking at the other batch there, and I will probably show them in the podcast itself. But yeah, I decided that I kind of like the first batch, so I want to buy the second batch. I'm going to now open it. It's always a little bit touch and go when I open yarn parcel with scissors because you don't want to cut the wool, of course. But I think it's fine because as I remember when I opened the first parcel last time, it is like parcels within a parcel. Safe. Okay, yeah. Do I need to apologize for the sound? I don't know, like, because I always see people apologizing. Oh, yes! Yeah. I was like, why do people always apologize for the crinkling sound of these? Because I myself enjoy it a lot. And I guess the reason why is because some people listen to podcasts with headphone, and it hurts their ears listening to crinkling sound. So, warning, it's going to be very noisy. Maybe you want to remove the headset, and I will kind of like speed up this part, and I will stop talking right now when I'm opening this, okay? Another one. Okay, more crinkling sound, I believe. Alright, there it goes. So, this is what I mean. I really do not remember what I bought. So, I've bought some Ask yarn and some Embla yarn. So, here. I'm not sure if the color actually comes out. I guess I just need to open it. Okay, this is Embla, as known as Hifa 3, wool yarn 6054. So this is mixed light gray. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 100 gram, and each gram has 210 meter approximately. So I think this is a sweater quantity yarn. And then I have also bought this one, Embla Hifa 36058, and this is Embla mixed light brown. I'm not sure it shows well here, but this one is gray and this one is light brown. Very, very pale. And the gray actually doesn't look very gray. It's just like cream with a little bit of dark, like black fiber in it. I'm not sure if you can see, but it's majorly cream with a bit of black fiber.
So it's not exactly gray, I think. Well, yeah. And this one is like an oatmeal color, I would say. It calls mixed light brown, but it looks very oatmeal-y. And then another Embla that I got is Embla Bright Blue 100 gram. This is very, very bright. Is it like the same blue here? Yeah, kind of. But this is a little bit brighter than the blue here. Okay, not sure what I want to do with them yet. And here I got some Ask yarn. And Ask yarn is also called Hifa 2. And like what I said just now, it is fingering yarn. So let's see. Ask, I got one. This is Hifa 2 wool garn 6091 golden yellow. Approximately 315 millimeter in 100 gram skein. I'm not sure how it will look like in the final video, but now in my laptop it looks a little bit less intense than the real color. It looks like a creamy yellow in the camera, but then in real life it's a very, very, just like a true yellow, I would say. It's called golden yellow. And then this one again, I wonder if it's the same. No, it's not. This one is Embla Bright Blue, and this one is Ask Light Navy Blue. And this one is a color that I wasn't so sure about whether I should buy it. It's 6068 Deep Pink. This is definitely not my color, but I was thinking, you know, like they might look kind of good in some kind of Fair Isle pattern. Don't you think? It's definitely out of my comfort zone, but it may probably in someone else's comfort zone. Say for example my aunt. I'm thinking about needing something, you know, a hat, a fun hat, right? This is definitely not my color, but who knows, right? And then there's another kind of sweater quantity. When I buy a sweater quantity of yarn, I usually do a little bit of yarn chicken. I don't know why. It's 4 skein of Ask Hifa 2. Is it bright red? It's called coral red. I bought 4 skein of them. So just now for sweater quantity of the Hifa 3 Embla yarn, which is a DK yarn of this wool, I bought 5 skein of it because it has shorter yardage. And for this one, because it's fingering yarn, I believe I don't really need to have so much for the sweater quantity. So this is what I get for myself. 4 skein, because I usually knit the small size or like the small medium size, so it will work, hopefully. Not sure if they go well together. Like, can I knit something using these? Not sure. And then the second parcel. This is from where is it from? I think okay. It's from Briar Patch New Zealand Limited, and I learned about this farm from Fatima of the Knit Necker Knitters podcast. She posted on Instagram about this farm, saying that this farm is having some problem with cash flow, so they are selling their yarn 50% off again, I believe. Not all of these yarn are for myself. Some of it are for my friend. Not for my friend, but I help my friend to buy to save up the shipping cost, because as I remember, the shipping cost is like 10 New Zealand dollars, or I don't remember, approximately 10 Hong Kong dollars. I mean 100 Hong Kong dollars. And I thought it might be a good idea to just buy the yarn together and split it. My friend wouldn't want to buy Hifa yarn because she doesn't really like the coarse type of yarn. She's definitely the merino type. And this farm is producing some New Zealand Kiwi merino yarn, so I thought it's a good idea to ask if she wants to buy some. So I'm now going to
I wish she's here to open this with me because it's so much fun to unbox or open the parcel. Now I'm really scared because I don't know how many layers of parcels, like packaging, is in here. So I really need to be very careful. So this is from Briar patch.co.nz, and we have ordered 5 skein of merino cream yarn. Which is this one? I'll try to be not too noisy. Lammermoor merino is 10 ply worsted weight, 85 meters or 93 yards approximately. Okay, so this is white color or cream. It says white on the labeling here, but then online it says cream. And then the second batch is this. It's another 10 ply worsted weight, but this one, the colorway is called Marl. So it is 2 different color twisted plied together. And then this is brown. It says chocolate on the label, but online it says chocolate too. It is a little bit confusing here because on the label at the back, as well as for the yarns I showed you guys just now, it says it's 10 ply / worsted weight. But on the yarn label, the ball band, it says it's DK or 8 ply. You know, I think it's acceptable that you mix up DK and worsted because sometimes DK is otherwise called light worsted yarn. But then mixing up 8 ply and 10 ply, I don't know what they mean by 8 ply or 10 ply. They probably just mean the weight and not how many plies they are. It says it's organic 100% super soft merino wool grown by Lammermoor Station for Briar Patch New Zealand Limited. And the needle size, the knitting tension is 16 to 21 stitches per 10 centimeter or 4 inches. So that was actually quite a broad spectrum, I would say 16 to 21 stitches. Not really not a very useful piece of information, I don't think. So I guess I would just need to go to Ravelry and see if people have been knitting with them, and also need to do a gauge swatch to determine whether this is like a worsted or DK. Yeah. I was thinking, you know, it's worsted yarn. Some of those are for my friends. I was actually wanting to buy my hair. Like, for example, this is all for my friend, and I was actually wanting to buy a lot of this to knit myself a fisherman sweater, like a Aran sweater. Because officially Aran sweater is in cream color, like naturally undyed color. But at the same time, I'm thinking it's so easy to have stain on your sweater. So if I take all the time to knit myself a complicated Aran sweater in this color, my activities will be quite limited because I will not be eating when I am wearing this. So I was like, maybe not. Now that when I think about it, I wish I did. I wish I did buy like a sweater quantity of this. No, not this. Where is the end of this? I'm just going to open it and... oh, here, anyway. It has, including the chocolate ply, it has 4 plies. Can you see it? 4 ply, kind of DK or worsted weight. Maybe it's flexible. It is soft. I wouldn't say it's crazy soft, but it's like good merino soft, I think. Not scratchy at all. Very sturdy. It has a very sturdy feeling to it. Commercially spun yarn, so it is very even. Like there isn't a part there that is like uneven. Well, I think the uneven yarns are mostly single ply yarns, so like singles. So I'm rambling a lot. And then, last but not least, I have bought myself 4 colors. Again, totally out of my comfort zone, but that's what I was thinking because I was wanting to buy these yarn for Fair Isle, and sometimes, you know, my comfort zone is blue, but you can only use so much blue in Fair Isle. This is 4 ply, available in 12 fashion colors, shrink resist treated. It is proudly grown and processed in New Zealand Te Toko Station for Briar Patch New Zealand Limited, 100% Parandel lamb's wool. It is 50 grams per skein and it has 219 meters each skein approximately. And something I'm not quite sure because it says it's shrink resist treated, so it means it's probably superwash, but it doesn't feel superwash at all. And to be honest, it feels so much like Hifa 2 Ask yarn. It is very coarse and 2 ply, like 2 plies. This is a 4 ply yarn, as in it is fingering weight yarn, but then there are 2 plies, if you can see here. Yeah? To be fair, it feels so thin, it's probably like a light fingering. Never gonna be like a fingering, it's a light fingering. And the color, I need to check the color. Oh, they have like funny names, which makes it difficult for me to remember what is what. Okay. This is 409, shade 409, which is Waitomo Caves Blue. Or Waitomo Cave Blue. And then this one is shade 407. And shade 407 is Ruataniwa Glacial Blue. Cambridge Green, shade 402. And this one is shade 406, and the color is Manio Toto Peony Pink. What I feel about the yarn is it feels exactly the same as the Hifa yarn as to a weight. Hifa yarn is definitely thicker. This is like a legit fingering, or maybe even to sport when compared to this. And this one is super thin. It's a very light fingering yarn. So I'm not sure if I can use them together. And I have no project in mind, like what I can knit with them just yet. So that's it. That's it. That's everything. See you back in the original podcast.
So welcome back. In front of me are the yarn that I talked about and also the first batch of yarn I mentioned in the video you just watched. Particularly, I said, well, basically, I'm just going to show you the yarn that I bought. The first batch of yarn that I bought from Norwegian wool.co.uk. It's not a lot compared to my second batch. I think it's just after the first batch, I just decided it's really worth it and I really want to have more of it. So just pick out a little bit on yarn. So this one, I'll just talk about the color one by one. This says Ask Hifa 2, 6014 bright red. I have 4 skeins of this and I think this is sweater quantity, I guess. Oh, I recently saw somebody using the word SQ on Instagram. I don't remember who, but that was like the coolest word ever. I love it. From now on, my favorite word is SQ. I want SQ of this yarn, thank you. There's something about sweater quantity. When I buy yarn, I like to buy it in sweater quantity because it feels like if I really love that yarn and I want to knit it into something, a garment is probably the most yarn consuming project. So if, using a garment as a gauge would be a way to make sure I won't run out of yarn. And then another color that I bought is Bright White. This is literally its name, Bright White, and it's 6046. I wanted to mention the number because some websites use English name and some websites use the Norwegian name. So if they don't have the number, I really wouldn't know which colorway you're talking about. And this is my 6036 light navy blue. This is like a Maria sweater color reverse. Because usually for a Maria sweater, you have the most blue. And actually, probably not this blue, but a darker blue, I believe. And then, like, 4 blue, 1 white, and 1 red for a Maria sweater, I believe. But this is like a reverse Maria's. And I'm not saying I'm going to knit a Maria sweater from this, I don't think, because these are sport weight, and the pattern that I bought from Sona's Yarn, I believe, was a DK pattern. And now I'm going to just show you again very quickly the yarn I talked about in the unboxing video, because that unboxing video was recorded in subpar light condition, I would say. It's at night in my white light, so yeah, very quickly. And just yarn look very different under different light. And this is another yarn, like SQ sweater quantity of yarn. This is Embla Hifa 3, and it's like the gray, light gray mix, I think. And then I have a mixed light brown here, 6058, and another Embla here. This is 6034 bright blue, and sweater quantity of Ask yarn, and this is 6111 coral red. Not to be confused with the bright red I showed you just now. And then there are like 3 single skeins of yarn here. The first one is again Hifa 2 Ask yarn. This is 6036, which is the same as the first batch of blue I bought. But you can see it's a little bit different already. Like this is a little bit darker than this because they are formed 2 different dye lots. That's the importance of buying yarn within the same dye lot. I think it's quite visibly different. This one here, it's a bright yellow. It's 609. It's called golden yellow. And this one is 6068 deep pink. That is Hifa yarn. Hifa yarn is a Norwegian wool. And next I'm going to talk about Romanian wool. The name of this wool is called, I don't know how to pronounce. I have heard people pronouncing it as Moeke or Moeke. But when I saw it, for some reason I just wanted to pronounce it as Moeke. And this is Moeke Elena. It's 100% half-bred Tige wool. I don't know what Tige wool is. I would like to do more research on this and hopefully do a yarn review later on, because this wool feels very, very different from the wool I've ever seen or ever touched before. At the back of this card it says, colorway gray, weight 70 gram, production year 2016, which is unusual because usually when you buy yarn they don't tell you which year it's produced in because it doesn't matter. But I guess for Moeke yarn, maybe because it's like not a super big company and then they source their wool yearly, maybe annually. So from what I read on the website, this wool is minimally processed and the yarn is spun using the machine the grandma of the owner of the company was using many years ago. So it's like an old machine, and it's supposed to feel quite rustic. This could not be found in Hong Kong, and when you go to their website, there is a stockist list, and it's actually quite a limited stockist list. None of them within my reach. But it just happened that my friend was traveling to Canada to visit her godmother, and I just asked her, because she's going to yarn store anyway, I just asked her, oh god, what is that? There's a bee outside my window. So anyway, she was going to buy yarn, she was going to visit yarn store anyway, and so while she was doing research on the yarn store she could visit, I sent her the link of this Moeke yarn, and I think she bought this from 3 Bags Full in Vancouver. And I told her I only want yarn in gray color because I only look good in gray, black, white, and not the neutral color like brown or, you know, I don't really look good in very warm color. So when she was there, she said she couldn't find any gray yarn. So I was like, oh, okay. I was almost like, yeah, maybe then don't buy. But at the same time, I felt like this yarn is really rare. It's really hard to get. And she's now in Canada. Just didn't want to miss a chance. So I was like, maybe we can buy a little bit of it. But at the same time, I kind of want to knit a sweater out of it as well. I don't know. I'm just obsessed with the idea of SQ. So I asked her to buy 5 skein of this. And yeah, but when she was paying, she took a picture of the card and asked me, you know, to confirm the details so that she's not buying the wrong yarn, because the company doesn't only produces Elena, it also produces Heritage, I think, and something else. And Elena was further divided into single ply and 2 plies, I believe. Anyway, and I was like, oh yeah, it says gray. And my friend was like, oh my god, sorry, I didn't know this is gray, because when I looked at it, it's definitely not gray, it's like brownish. Let me tell you, Moeke yarn, this is not gray. This is definitely not gray. This is very light brown. Or I might say not even light, because what people will call light brown is this. And look at that. This is not gray. This is Embla yarn. I wonder if they actually have like a real gray color. I think one thing about Moeke yarn is that sometimes a yarn store can't really guarantee to have the whole range of the color of one kind of yarn like Moeke yarn, because it's just very rare, I think, maybe. Anyway, and also when I read the tag that my friend took a picture for me, it's a 70 gram. And I was like, why is it 70 gram? Because when I decided to buy 5 skeins of yarn, I was having 100 gram in my mind, because on their website, the unit they talk about the yardage was 100 gram. So I decided I wanted to have 500 gram. I mean, yeah. But turned out it's 70, so my friend was like, well, do you want an extra one? And I was like, maybe not. And she said, well, but then you might regret not buying it. Like, if you're running out of yarn, you're dead meat. So, what's happening with my hair? I got an extra skein, so now I have 6 skein of Moeke yarn here. And that concludes this episode. This is the end of part 2 and also the end of episode 7. And thank you very much for watching. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, and if you like to, no pressure, but if you like to, please subscribe. And also give me a thumbs up if you like part 1 or part 2 or both. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye!